Namaste, Prakash here. Welcome to the next edition of Dharma Tales. Let's debate. Again, we go back to Mahabharata to pick up one more very interesting and powerful story. A story which is said to be continuing to happen even while we are actually in this time period of life. Mahabharata was said to have happened several thousands of years ago. We are going to speak about the character called Ashwatthama and the impact he had on Mahabharata and, in fact, on Dharma itself. His life is full of twists and turns and so many things that we can learn, that we can actually either avoid or implement in our lives. Ashwatthama is the son of Dronacharya, who was married to the sister of Kripacharya. She was called Kripi. They didn't have a child for several years. And then, out of the penance that Dronacharya did to Lord Shiva was so happy that he blessed him with a child who will be immortal. As a mark of this immortality, Ashwatthama was born with a stone, one of those rare gemstones you can call, which was embedded in the middle portion of his forehead. When he was born, he was actually blaring as if the cry of the child was that of an Ashwa or a horse, and that too that of Lord Indra himself. Hence, he got the name Ashwatthama. While he grew up, since his father was a Brahmin, he was always sidelined from all the activities that the Kshatriyas, specifically the Pandavas and Kauravas, took part, and what his father taught them. Though he also learned many of them, he always had specifically developed some kind of a jealousy and hatred towards Arjuna, because many times Dronacharya, his father, gave more importance to Arjuna than his own son. This had deep-rooted effect. Of course, there is a lot that his father taught Arjuna which he refused to teach Ashwatthama. It's a different matter that he did pick up quite a few things, and he was equally a very valiant warrior. At the time of Mahabharata, he had already sided with very clearly with the Kauravas, specifically with Dhuryodhan, because for him, since he was immortal, he thought he had a chance to settle scores with Arjun once and for all. All along, he didn't have a chance really to fight directly one on one because of his lineage. He was not truly considered a Kshatriya. But once the war lines were formed, the war continued to happen. One of the hidden grudge he had against even Duryodhan was that after even the exit of his father, prior to that Bhishma, he thought he would be made the general of the war, the commander, and then given charge to fight. But somehow Duryodhana had different ideas, and he had Karna on his side as the commander. And when everything ended, and finally when even Duryodhan was in the deathbed, it was Ashwatthama who took up the mantle after Karna had died and took over the war and took it into the night of the 18th, when he really created so much of havoc that he had single handedly finished off the entire Pandava army. He even went to the place where Pandavas were resting because he wanted to finish them off. That was the grudge he had. And knowing what was happening, Lord Krishna had protected the Pandavas by taking the Pandavas and Draupadi out. And instead, Ashwatthama landed up killing the five sons of Draupadi, mistaking them to be the sons, or rather the Pandavas themselves. When Pandavas came back, Arjun was extremely furious and he wanted to go and take revenge on Ashwatthama. The fight continued, and at some point of time, Ashwatthama went and took refuge under sage Vyasa. And when finally Arjun reached there along with Lord Krishna and the rest of the Pandavas, no peace could be brokered, and a fight broke out between the two of them. The culmination of which saw Ashwatthama bringing out Brahmastra, for which he had access because of the mantras he could recite, which he had learnt before. He just converted a blade of grass into an astra and then deployed it against Arjun. Brahmastra, you can imagine, is like your modern day nuclear weapons. In no time, it can destroy the entire universe itself. Since he had taken out the Brahmastra, Arjun had no other choice to take out the same astra, and he also sent it out. Unlike Ashwatthama, Arjun had been taught how to actually deploy the Brahmastra. And at this point of time, Vedavyas, he came and said that if this was to happen, this will only end up in the complete annihilation of the earth itself. So he neutralized the weapons in the midair before they collided and created the destruction, and instructed the two warriors to take their weapons back, the astra back. Whereas Arjun knew how to take it back because that was already taught to him by his guru Dronacharya. Unfortunately for Ashwatthama, he had no knowledge of how to take it back. Hence, sage Vyasa gave him the option, saying that please send this astra to some distant, deserted location so that when it goes there, it'll just maybe destroy a few things around and then be done with it. But instead of following the advice of sage Vyasa, Ashwatthama played a trick to finish off the clan of Pandavas. Uttara, the daughter in law of Arjun, wife of Abhimanyu, who was then pregnant, was his target. He sent the Astra out with a very clear direction that it should go and destroy the child in the womb of Uttara. And it so happened that it did destroy. And Lord Krishna of all became extremely furious because the lineage of Pandavas was important for him to establish and continue with the Dharma. And hence, of course, using his divine powers, he resurrected the child in the womb of Uttara. And then he cursed Ashwatthama that since you are born immortal, and at that point of time, he put his hand out, and it is said that he took that stone out of the forehead and it created a void in the middle of the head. And he said, you will roam the world throughout Kali Yuga before you meet your death. You live your life every day with so much of pain, so much of anguish that you wish death came, but yet you will not be able to die because you are immortal. And this is the curse I am going to give you. You need to roam the earth every day and then pay the price mentally, going through the suffering that for which the curse I am giving you. Is exactly what happened. And the rest of the story goes on that Ashwatthama left the place. Before I end the story, let me give you a tidbit, an interesting, not so confirmed, but still an interesting tidbit. In one of the sections of the press several years back, it was said that a Ayurvedic doctor in Madhya Pradesh had come across a patient who entered his clinic with a very deep wound in the forehead, which was full of pus, very tall, handsome, very well built, much, much taller than the normal human beings of this period. And he wanted that to be cured. And the doctor had already read about the curse of Ashwatthama. And apparently, he jokingly asked him, are you Ashwatthama? And then he turned to take some medicine to apply to his forehead. When he turned back, it was surprising that that person was not to be seen at all. And when the doctor came out and asked many of the people who had been waiting in the clinic, including the shop people outside his clinic. They all said they never saw anyone coming in of that description that the doctor came. Likewise, a few people have apparently seen him in one temple in Madhya Pradesh where he apparently comes to offer his prayers every day to Lord Shiva, for whom he is the devotee. There is another version which says that he is still roaming in Himalayas. These are all tidbits. But the main thing is that a person who is immortal, the person who is not a Kshatriya by choice, why did he have to do whatever he did? Why that jealousy, which turned into rage against Arjun, had to lead him to kill so many innocent people in the war? Why is that what he could not actually take it back, he had to get it out, the Brahmastra? There are several unanswered twists and turns and questions, several dharmic equations that we need to understand, several things in our own life that we can actually imbibe by not doing what Ashwatthama did, the flare up of his ego, the jealousy, and so many other factors and facets of his life. Move to the comment section in this video, below this video. Share all your insights and thoughts on what are your understanding, what is that you learn, what is that you pick up, how is this story relevant in the current times? Dharma Tales, let's debate. Till we meet again, this is Prakash signing off.